Keep on singing for a long time, but maybe we will. but maybe a little bit later. All right, welcome everyone. I'm so glad we had this opportunity because it's been such a long time since we really learned here on a Monday night. It's going to get crazy again with Sukkot and everything, but the week of Yom Kippur is not a week we miss learning, no matter what. A few years ago, probably one of the strongest nights we ever had was on the night before Yom Kippur. I don't know who remembers. We were in Neve Daniel, and Yom Kippur was probably Tuesday night, and we got together Monday night. And it's just a moment that when you remember how powerful it could be, you got to utilize these moments very strongly. So first of all, I just want to say, we have to really learn strong tonight because we have a few very close friends that are really suffering. And the learning, I just got off the phone with a friend from the Moshav. We have to just really storm the heavens, daven for Michal, Moshe Zev ben Yehudit, and for our dear friend and Rav, Natan Daniel ben Malka. And also, Reb Motel was in the hospital, Rosh Hashanah. So, Reb Mordechai Dov Ber ben, is it Hinda Gittel, I think. The Rabbi Twersky, formerly from Denver, now in Brooklyn. Yeah, Hashem, Baruch Hashem, he had a miraculous Rosh Hashanah, but he needs big tefillahs. And two of my friends on this block who just left their lives in Galus to come, Uvaud Sion Berina, come to Eretz Yisrael, each decided that they had to tear either, an Achilles or break a leg. Oy. So two of my friends on the block, Avi and Toby, and some, and so for them too, it should be refuah b'simcha, and someone just blew in from Uman, so now I know it's really, 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 really strong. Look what the Uman blew in. And keep Mordechai in mind. Always, every single learning, Binyamin Nachman Mordechai ben Ilana. Now, tonight's very special. Tonight's learning is going to be very, very special because, whenever we come together after a long time, it's got to be super special. And whenever it could be super special, so the miniyot, that which prevents what could happen, are always greater. So tonight, I'm asking, I never ask a chuppah to turn off cell phones, but I know that any tiny little beep can really stir us away to the other side. And we have to take really precious time tonight and zone in on something very, very important. I want to first share with you good news. And I only want to share with you good news tonight. And tonight's shir is not going to be too heavy. It's just going to be sweet. It's just going to be sweet. I want to share with you good news. Rosh Hashanah, my family and I were in Mayanot in Yerushalayim, which is a very, very special kehillah. We'll be back there for Yom Kippur. And on Shabbos, the Rav of the kehillah was a dear friend of many of ours, Rabbi Shlomo Katz. He said something that it just made all of us in the room feel like this year, kind of what you were saying right now, we kind of have a chance this year for things to really, really, really be great. Great. He said, halachically, when something happens 3 times, that's established as a chazaka, right? That if something happens 3 times, then you have a chazaka on it. So he said, sometimes we have to work so hard to establish some things in our lives to make it a chazaka, to make something that we took on established. But the Ribono Shel Olam is the one that set the calendar. And he decided to start off the year with a chazaka of 3 days of Kedusha. 2 days of Yantiv going right into Shabbos without any stopping of Kedusha. Which means that it was the Ribono Shel Olam's decision that we start off the year with a chazaka of Kedusha. That it's established already in the year, the first 3 days, and we say that everything, hakol holech achar hatchala, everything goes after the beginning, which means that it wasn't even if anything ever goes bad, chalila, you could always look back to Shemaim with holy chutzpah eyes and say, this one's on you. You started it off with so much Kedusha. So we shouldn't ever need to look back and say, hey, it has to be good. The Kedusha we felt the first 3 days of the year should just last forever. And it shouldn't have to be such a struggle to try to tap in again to Kedusha. It should just last in our lives. And in Lubavitch they always say that when you bless someone with a good year, they always say with revealed goodness. Not a year of goodness where you have to search really, really deep to see how this is probably good for me or I could probably benefit from it. Revealed goodness. Revealed. Galui. It should just be revealed. But my Rosh Hashanah began a little bit before Rosh Hashanah. It happened the day before Rosh Hashanah. And I was very excited to share with you why my Rosh Hashanah began early. And when I told this to my wife, I knew right away this was going to be the drasha, the first night. This is what I'm going to be talking about, because I want to remind myself of something that took place, which is very special. Getting lost in the machzor is one of the easiest things that us Yidlach have. It's one of an art that we've mastered, of just getting lost within the machzor, and then coming up with any teirutz, any excuse as to why I shouldn't be so glued to the machzor. But you should know that the machzor, the words of Hashem Yom Kippur, each tefillah is filled with it contains within it such meaning, such beauty, that you can fall in love with every few psukim, every few prayers that you say Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And last year, we fell in love with a certain word, which we realized that this word appears over and over and over and over again in the machzor for Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. And I don't know if you remember, but we tried to understand, where's the makor from this? And we learned from Rav Weinberger Shlita that the certain word that keeps on appearing, which afterwards we realized is the story of our lives, is the word uvechein. Uvechein tein pachdacha Hashem Elokeinu. Uvechein tein kovod Hashem la'amecha. Uvechein tzadik yimru v'yismachu. Uvechein yiskad Hashemcha Hashem Elokeinu Yisrael la'amecha. Uvechein means well, or so now let's, uvechen. So we learned where's the makor, where's the source for this word uvechen, where does it show up in the Tanakh? So we learned that the word uvechen, the makor for it, the source for it is none other than Megillas Esther. Esther HaMalka says, uvechen avo el hamelech, asher lo chadas, V'chasher avadati. It's a gewalt word, no? Uvechein ova el hamelech asher lo chadas. What does Esther HaMalka say? Well, I will come before the king, asher lo kadat, non-religiously, meaning not like a typical Orthodox Jew. I'm just going to come before the king however I'm feeling. V'chasher avadati. And if I get lost, I get lost. But as long as I know, I'm coming before the king. And that word uvechein, every time it shows up in the machzor, you're back with Esther HaMalka, saying that she's pleading for her life before the king, Achashverosh, really the king, the Melech Malchei Amlachim, saying, I'm coming up to the king, no matter how holy or pure I feel, or how disgusting I feel. I'm coming before the king. Uvechein. I was flying off that word all last year, but I was very nervous, because I knew that that's not enough for me this coming year. I need a new word. I need a new phrase. I can't bank on the high. If everything becomes renewed, maybe I won't feel so close to that word anymore this year. I need a new word. I need something new to blast me off and make me feel like I'm dancing with the machzor. So, and I didn't get it. It wasn't happening for me. Day before Rosh Hashanah, my two very crazy and wild and beautiful friends, Ari and Jeremy, Ari Bromwitz and Jeremy Gimpel, have this new radio show, Voice of Israel. Ari Mazel Tov just became a chatan. We were dancing with him in shul on Shabbos. It was very high. No, he got engaged. He got engaged. And they had this, we sent it out before Chag, this radio show, but it's also televised, it's also recorded. And in this beautiful new studio, which I'm sure all of you know where it is, Voice of Israel, this new radio station, and their studios are incredible. It's the basement of the JVP building at the end, JVP, the corner of Derech Chevron, right when you go by the old Tachana Yeshana, right before you, if you continue down, you'd be going towards the Kolta on the left side, the end of Derech Chevron. There's that big building, very impressive studio, something really beautiful starting to cook there, something really special. A lot of our friends like Yishai Fleischer and Motel Wolf, Eitan Price, there's a lot of chaver that are working there. What touched me so deep is that there's 3 studios in this new beautiful Voice of Israel radio station. And you know what these studios are called, right? It's not called Studio A, Studio B, and Studio C. One is called Ulpan Studio Naftali, Studio Gilad, and Studio Eyal. I don't know if I told you that. It's unbelievable. You didn't have to do anything afterwards. Just walk into that studio and see. You know, this is like, and people ask me, so like, you know, is it worth making aliyah? Like, what about our children's chinuch? I'm thinking, is it worth making aliyah? You go to a radio station, there's three studios named after the three Giborim. That alone just pierced my heart and soul. I felt like I didn't even go to the mikveh yet, but that was the first mikveh. And we did this very, very fun radio show. It was very exciting. It's very good. We were very hyper and very just, you know, excited. And as I'm leaving, it's already Erev Yantiv, there's a lot of errands to do, and I needed to get a ride back to Efrat. One of the technicians there, who happens to be an old friend of mine, he's beautiful looking, he had long blonde payas. He's walking me out, and he says, "Can I walk you out?" I said, "Sure, but I gotta go. I gotta do, you know, a little bit of a rush." He says, "Okay, just take a second." And he says to me, "Shlomo, can I sing you a vort?" Can you sing me a vort? Meaning, can you sing me a Torah lesson? I said, okay. And I'm thinking, okay, I hope this doesn't take forever. I hope this, you know. And he looks at me, and we're walking through the corridors. And he starts singing, Zochreinu lechaim melech hafetz. But I'm thinking, I hope he knows that I know this song. You know? That's my first thought. I was like, okay, and we keep on singing, and it's getting late. And I'm like, oh wow, things, I gotta get going. So, and he keeps on singing, Zochreinu lechaim melech hafetz b'chaim. And then I promise you that then his face, the color in his face changed. And something in his eyes changed. And in Rav Kook we've been learning that when a person fills his heart and soul with the rhythm of tshuva, einav mitmalot eish kodesh, Rav Kook says. A person's physical eyes look different when they take upon themselves the world of tshuva. Rav Kook says a person's eyes are filled with a holy fire. And this guy's eyes changed, and I was like, okay, I'm going to buckle up now. He's about to lay it on me. And he starts singing the second verse a little bit different. And maybe you'll notice it. V'chol sveinu b'sefer hachayim lemancha Eloikim chayim. And if you know the nigun and if you know the words, you know the difference that he made. And I'll explain it to you. We're all obsessed with making it into the book of life. He changed the name of that book by the way he sang this nigun. Instead of singing V'chosveinu b'sefer hachayim lemancha Elokim chayim, write me in the book of life for your sake, living God. He changed it. Write me in the book which is called Living for You, God. Instead of the sefer called Sefer Hachayim, sefer that's called Hachayim lemancha. Those who live for you. What's the difference between being written in the book of life as opposed to being written in the book that's called Living for You? Do you know how many couples celebrate the fact at every anniversary that they just didn't get divorced, but they stayed married? As opposed to couples that celebrate every year of marriage of Hachayim lemancha, that we've been living more and more for each other. Just getting another year so that we could say at the end of the year, okay, we made it alive, is a gift. And we should never belittle the gift of life. But for many people, so I made it through another year. That's not enough for most of us. Because many of us made it through another year, and we're alive. And this year was terror. So we made it alive. Mazel tov. But to be written in the book, which is called Hachaim Lemancha, living for you, that I lived a life, that I'm living for you, is a completely different ballgame. It means that every single day, not just that I was alive, I was living for the Ribono Shel Olam. I was living for God. Now the truth is, what I said to you right now doesn't come close to the way it hit me when he sang it. Because when he looked at me, when he said, V'chos ve'inu b'sefer Hachaim lemancha, that in Shamayim they write 2 books. There's 2 books. Actually, there's 3 books, Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. One is the book of, I don't want to say what the name of that book is. Then there's the book of life, that you'll get another year. But then there's also to be inscribed in the book of those who can say, I lived a whole year of living for the Ribono Shel Olam, that I was a shliach every day of my life, that God knew that he can count on me every single day. The level of life with the book called Hachaim Lemancha, tremendous. A different ballgame. It's a different ballgame. So I wanted to open up with a bracha to all of us. In our marriages, in our relationships, in every aspect of our life that we have to deal with people, it shouldn't feel anymore that, okay, I made it through another year with them. We were able to not slit each other's throats. Everything that we have to do with each other, and also with our own neshamas, it should be it's not enough anymore just to live. You know, it used to be a time people were satisfied with, okay, I'm still alive. And that would be enough for them to feel close to God. People that feel I made it alive, that doesn't satisfy them. People that feel that they're living for the Ribono Shel Olam, that's the only satisfaction that we're willing to live on. And this week of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah happens to be a very bizarre week. It's very weird. I'm sure you all agree with me. It's very weird for many reasons. For me, I'm just sharing with you personally my heart. I said tonight's not going to be too heavy. It's not. We're just going to go through some good sweetness and chizuk tonight. You know, this week, what do you do? What do you do with yourself the week of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah? On the one hand, I just went through Rosh Hashanah. There's so much going on. I don't know. We went through so many emotions. First day, second day, then Shabbos. So much preparation for Rosh Hashanah. We went through it. And now we're like in Aseret Yemei Tshuvah. But wait a second, I was busy the whole month of Elul doing Tshuvah. So what's different about it now? And then we went through, and then we all know that this whole week of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah is really, we're all just preparing for Yom Kippur. So there's so much energy, there's so many emotions, and there's so many different feelings and really self-expectations that are flying around in the air. What am I supposed to do with Aseret Yemei Tshuvah when really I'm preparing so much for Yom Kippur, trembling before that great day? Rosh Hashanah is an awesome, awesome time. I'm back now in the middle of the week, and where am I going to now? Where am I running to now? And then Sukkot, who has time to think? Who has time for anything? Then it'll be Rabbi Shlomo's 20th Yortzeit a few weeks later. By us, we have our chevra always from Rosh Chodesh Elul, don't talk to me till December. It's always like that. It's too much going on. There's so much going on. So tonight I wanted to discuss 2 things really. What does it mean to be inscribed in the book which is called Hachaim Lemancha? What does it mean to be inscribed in that book? Those who live for you. And to also understand what we're supposed to be doing right now in a time that's very, very, very tricky. So actually, there's one line that I don't have, I definitely don't have enough handouts for tonight. But you know what? Let's put back and forth, you'll share. There's one line I wanted to learn with you. If we get to something else, great. If not, it's worth it. From one line, from one of the Hasidic masters, who really tops it all off, and he puts us right in the zone of where there's no such thing as where we're supposed to be right now, but there's a thing called where it would be nice to be, where it really would feel good to be right now in the calendar of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah, right smack in the middle of the middle. And if everyone could share, then we'll Bezrat Hashem have enough. So the first thing that we have here on this page is an important yesod, an important feeling, an important foundation that I want us all to carry with us while we're going towards the day of atonement. Okay? The Yom Kippur. Reb Moshe Kubrin, if you've ever learned the Sivas Shalom, the Slonim Rebbe, Reb Moshe Kubriner is a Rebbe that's quoted all the time. He's one of the grandfathers in the dynasty of Slonim. And what he says over here in this one line will put everything into proportion, and we'll discuss it in a second, but I want to read it out loud right now. But open up very, very strong right now, and pretend that you believe in the tshuva that you did in Elul. You don't know what I'm talking about, right? Pretend that you actually really do believe in all the tshuva you were busy with during the month of Elul. Meaning, let yourselves believe that actual newness took place in your lives, and everything really is different. Because whether, like I wrote to you, whether you realize it or not, everything is new. Everything is different. And your capacity to pay attention, or to understand, or connect, those vessels are new. That which you thought you can't connect to, it's not for me, or I'm not so smart, I don't have that background, Elul wiped out the illusion of what I'm capable versus what I'm not capable of. Let yourselves be shocked. That's all I'm saying. Reb Moshe Kubriner says like this: Im Yehudi, acharei shenechshal ba'avera hagru'a beyoter, אינו מסוגל לעמוד נוכח פני השם ולשפוך ליבו לפניו, אות היא שלא דרך על מפתן החסידות והיהדות. Such atomically powerful words. Rabbi Moshe Kubrina says like this: if after a Jew falls by doing the worst avera that he could imagine, each of you think whatever that is in your cheshbon. I fall with the worst thing in the world I could ever imagine. But afterwards I feel that I'm not allowed, or I'm not capable of standing nochach pnei Hashem, before the Ribono Shel Olam, and pouring out my heart before God. Meaning, if I think that there's an avera that's great enough to prevent me from right away standing before God and pouring out my heart, his words are really harsh now. Oti, this is a sign. Shelo darach al miftan hachasidut vayahadut. This is a sign that this type of person hasn't even stepped on the doorstep of Yiddishkeit, of what Yiddishkeit is all about, or of what Chassidut is all about. Meaning to say as follows. Rabbi Shlomo, I once heard him scream this. He said once, you could hear Yehuda, the son of Yaakov, screaming till today. Is there ever a great enough avera that could make me think that I can't come back to the Ribono Shel Olam? You think that God is so small? You think the concept of God is such a shallow concept that there could be such a concept as a certain sin that's great enough to prevent me from coming to the Ribono Shel Olam and pouring out my heart and soul? And he says, if you don't believe this, if you don't live with the notion that there is no such thing as an avera like that can prevent you from the second after you sin stand before God and pour out your heart and soul, you haven't even begun the aleph bet of what it means to be a Jew. And of course, also what it means to connect to Chassidut. This statement is not like, well, let's make people that really are sinners, make them feel better. Like, this is not like this, a statement of, oh, there are a lot of people that are walking around Nebuch Tzabrach, and let's at least let them think they have a chance of feeling close again. He's saying this is textbook, this is the beginning. This is the beginning of Yiddishkeit, is a recognition that there's no such thing. There's never a justifiable hiding. And that's the word I wanted to get to tonight. Hopefully what Rosh Hashanah did is that it took us out of the hiding. Wherever we were still maybe hiding in our personal lives with God and with other people, hopefully it yanked us out of, maybe if there are certain places that were still left where we felt the need to hide, because if I showed my true colors to my friends, my family, to God, to myself, I wouldn't be able to be real. Then I really couldn't daven with a lot of kavanah. Like many people say, come on, how am I going to go to shul and start davening Rosh Hashanah when all year long, what was I doing? Right? What? I'm going to start shuckling, putting on the kittel Yom Kippur, look frum, and go through the whole motion of what Yom Kippur is all about? Who am I kidding? The Kabiner says, Pum Faked, this is the exact opposite. You don't understand what Yiddishkeit is, and you definitely don't understand what the Baal Shem Tov tried to bring down into the world. There is no such thing. It doesn't exist. But you have to decide one thing. I'm not hiding anymore. You know, these days, and the men are welcome to join. We have a shir Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday mornings now. And B'ezrat Hashem will continue the whole year. And Rav Kook, and we've been doing Orot HaTshuvah. Sunday, Tuesday, Thursday morning here, 9 o'clock in the Kapot Marim, right after davening. And all these classes I post on SoundCloud like an hour after, so it's all on for everyone to hear. And hopefully we'll be starting, by the way, you're going to be hearing about a whole list of new shiurim in hopefully what will be a new base midrash and a learning center that we're working on here in Efrat for men and women. More details to come, but I said that now so that you daven strong for it to really make happen by Yom Kippur. One of the things that Rav Kook keeps on saying in the 3rd chapter of Orot HaTshuvah, which is mind-blowing, once you get yourself through that crazy poetic Hebrew, which even for Israelis is very hard to connect to, you have a chance in tasting this light that Rav Kook speaks of. And Rav Kook says that when a person begins doing tshuva, he has to make a decision. That whatever it is he was trying to avoid all year long and still make it to the Ribono Shel Olam, but he knew he had to duck or make a detour in order to get there, Elul comes, or whenever your tshuva is happening, he says you have to put the chet nochach panecha, in front of your face. And here Rav Kook was saying that a person has to believe that they can always put the Ribono Shel Olam, nochach panav, right in front of him, no matter how low he fell. Because like you've seen my signature in my emails, yesterday does not exist anymore. So if you're working with the now, all you have is what's in front of you right now. This seems like a simple thing. Oh, this is a nice, cute, sweet word. Do you know how hard this is? But do you know how liberating it is? So please God, what Rosh Hashanah did is that it instilled within us a certain confidence, a holy confidence, not an arrogant confidence, but a holy confidence that it's okay to come out of hiding. Nothing happened to us. We're okay. We made it. We made it into a new year. The newness. You see, if we started with Yom Kippur, I don't know how many of us would be so comfortable coming out of hiding, because Yom Kippur is a different zach. We go into our averas in more greater depth. But in Rosh Hashanah comes before Yom Kippur, and everyone asks why. It should be the other way around. Yom Kippur should be first, and then you celebrate right? But no. You need enough holy guts to take from Rosh Hashanah to decide that there's nothing that I can't deal with. And I'm coming out of hiding. where does this begin, this concept of Jews hiding? Like, if we believe in God, why do we believe in this concept called hiding? It's such an oxymoron.
Admiration.
What's that?
Admiration.
So look at the next paragraph. Rabbi Shlomo says like this. In the Ishbitzer it's very clear. Why was Adam driven out from paradise? Not because he ate the wrong food, Rabbi Shlomo said. Adam was driven out of paradise because he was hiding from God. Now, this is an amazing chiddush that they didn't tell us when we were learning the story of Gan Eden when we were in however old we were, right? What was the first sin? The sin of the tree of knowledge. What did that involve? They ate the wrong apple. No. Rabbi Shlomo says like this. Why were you hiding? You don't trust me enough to tell me you did wrong? God is saying. Look at that word. You don't trust me. Do you realize what that means? You know what our relationship with God would be like? If we trusted God enough to tell him that we did wrong? You know, my friends, if Adam would have eaten the forbidden fruit, and then he would have said to God, I'm sorry, God would say, you're a human being. I never expected anything else of you. You only learn by mistakes. But that wasn't his response. What did Adam start doing? He started hiding. And that act of Adam HaRishon, his reaction to sin, has been escorting us ever since. Usually subconsciously. Rav Kook explains, I'm sorry, I'm going to be quoting him a lot because when you fall in love with the Rebbe for the first time, it's all you want to talk about. And I had Rav Kook shoved down my throat in the certain high schools that I went to, which made Rav Kook into a very, very dry, mandatory textbook which we had to learn. Couldn't hear the name Rav Kook after high school for years. Couldn't hear it. And then really in the schus of my Rebbe, Rav Weinberger, and obviously Rabbi Shlomo, you see that we're dealing with Shemesh, a sun. Rav Kook is the sun. It's just, I have no other words to say. So Rav Kook says over there, you know what happens to most of us with the hiding? Do you know what ends up happening? In the beginning it's a splinter. But afterwards, you know what happens when a splinter goes beneath the skin? After a long time not taking care of it, you're unaware. You're unaware of it. You don't even realize that you're hiding. That splinter is called hiding. Because you know why? To hide from God is like putting a splinter into your heart. And sometimes you got to do some really, really heavy, serious, painful removal of a splinter, and you got to go beneath the skin. That's the tshuva that we got to do, of taking the sin, taking whatever it is we're dealing with, and putting it in front of us. But how are you going to do tshuva? And how are you going to feel that it's not only like okay to not hide, it's ridiculous to hide from God, if you don't understand that you don't trust me enough to tell me you did wrong? Like, what's our relationship with God? What's our relationship with God? I give us a bracha this year. Any small labels we put on God, we should just finally get rid of it, because the Rebbeinu Shalom is so much greater than the greatest revelation that ever comes to you. The greatest revelation you ever come to about God, from that point on, He's infinitely larger than whatever you came to. This is terrifying with raising children. Because how are you supposed to talk to them about what you do on Shabbos, what you don't do on Shabbos, or, So I have a very, very weird thing that happens to me, at least, is that I've been petrified since my daughters are old enough to understand that you don't do things on Shabbos. I've been so scared that they're going to hate Shabbos. Because if Shabbos is the day that there is no Barney, and there is no coloring, and there's no, of all the things that they love, how are you going to instill like this Shabbos within a 3 and a 4-year-old, right? And the Rebbeinu Shalom has done such a chesed that it's not, it's not, it's hard for other reasons, because I don't like waking up at 6 Shabbos morning, but it's not hard to give over that. The Rebbeinu Shalom is bigger than yes and no, even to children that are very young. But how are we going to choose to stop hiding unless we feel that there's nothing in the world worth hiding from? Nothing. So Rabbi Shlomo says, based on the Ishbitzer, Yidden, connect to your roots. What's the first Avera that ever took place in humanity? Not a wrong apple. Rabbi Shlomo says in another place, we eat thousands of wrong apples every day. It's not a wrong apple. It's that our reaction after we sinned was that, now I gotta hide from God. The Ishbitzer says, that is an Avera. That's the sin. The sin is that you hid, not that you did a mistake. Why? Look at the next sentence. The Gemara says, Ein Adam Oimed al Divrei Torah ela im ken nichshal bahen. The deepest knowledge comes from mistakes. You don't learn until you make mistakes. Everything's okay, but why are you hiding? So I feel like on Rosh Hashanah, when you hear that voice of the shofar, it gave us enough confidence to stop hiding. So welcome to Aseret Yemei Tshuvah. Great. Now we're not hiding anymore. Wouldn't it stink if we just stopped now and went home? Great. Now I'm not hiding. What do I do now? I manned up, or I should say I womaned up. Manning up is a very chauvinistic statement. I manned up. I womaned up. Whatever it is, I stepped up to the plate, right? And I'm not hiding. And I have enough adrenaline and I have enough holy confidence in me that I can stand before the Ribbon Shalom, come Yom Kippur, come whenever it is, and I can be judged favorably, whatever that means. Okay, whatever that means. What are you supposed to do once you decide to come out of hiding? So once a person usually comes out of hiding and they say, okay, I can be strong enough, what do they start doing? I did this wrong, I did that wrong, I did this wrong, I did this wrong. I did this because of that, I'm sorry. I did this because of that, I'm sorry. I'm not hiding anymore, but I'm giving 5 billion excuses as to why I did what I did. When really, the Ribbon Shalom doesn't know why you did what you did. The jumping from hiding to blabbermouthing is like, it's worth it to go back into your shell. You shouldn't have come out in the first place. Mamish, it's worth it if you just would have stayed in that cave. What are you coming out and what are you chatting and chatterboxing away? And here we're coming to where we are tonight. And I believe that this is a secret of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah. In order to understand what to do now, after I left the hiding, let's go back to Rosh Hashanah for a second. According to the Torah, what are we supposed to do on Rosh Hashanah? According to God, let's use a stronger term, right? According to God, what are we supposed to be doing Rosh Hashanah? One thing. What is that? Mitzvahs hayom b'shofar. There's only one thing I'm supposed to be actively doing, and it's not even an active thing. What am I supposed to be doing? Listening. It's the only thing I'm supposed to be doing on Rosh Hashanah. That's the only thing. You could give a million different hesberim, and all the mikvahs, and all the machzorim, and all the different simonim, all the seders, and the honey, and all the minhagim that you take on, which is beautiful. I don't want to knock any of it, but I want to just reinforce what the emphasis is all about. The only thing you're supposed to be doing Rosh Hashanah is kind of like a passive, it's like choosing just to tune into a certain sense that you have. The sense of hearing. By the way, we had a crazy meal. The power of senses. We had a crazy meal, Rosh Hashanah, one of the meals. And you ever realize everyone kvetches, oh my God, so much food, but you show up to every meal and you such an interesting thing. Right? And us brave men are like, oh, I'm going to start a diet right after Rosh Hashanah. And of course, you have Tzom Gedalia, right? But then, so you started a diet. You go back to, you go back fressing, Motzei Tzom Gedalia right away. I had a meal which I'm looking back now, and it put things into perspective in terms of appreciating senses. A very interesting meal with someone who we were talking out of the blue. We were talking about before the meal started, talking about names. Oh, this name is important. This name means that. This Rebbe's big on certain names. This person speaks about those names. And then the guy just stopped in the conversation. And he's like, So what's the deal with smelling? I said, I don't know. What is the deal with smelling? I don't know what he was talking about. He's like, yeah, I can't smell. So I was trying to first understand how in the world did we get to talking about his lack of smelling from a conversation about names. But then I realized, Rabbi Shlomo has a Torah that when sometimes people ask you a question like, it's Friday afternoon and they're holding like the Jewish newspaper with the Shabbos times and they say, I'm sorry, what time is Shabbos? Because they know what time is Shabbos, but they want to be with someone. Or sometimes Rabbi Shlomo said, people have a watch on and they ask you, what time is it? And you look at them like, wait a second, you have a watch. But really, they just really want to be able to converse with someone, to be with someone in a conversation. So in the beginning I was like, wow, this guy's really needs to share with someone the fact that he can't smell. But it was this very weird jump from names to, what's the deal with smell? And he told us that he was born, it was like a wacky thing, he told us that he was born without a cord, which connects, I don't know what the smell, like the sense of smell. Like they tried a few things through the ears, whatever, nothing. His brother also was born without the cord, but they were able to connect the brother's cord, he could smell. But this guy is 24, he never smelled before in his life. So then, I hate to say this, it's for Yom Kippur, I can mind this, the whole meal we spent telling him, oh man, this food reeks, this is horrible. But you wouldn't know, right? We were playing around with his mind the whole meal. And I realized, like, one of the senses which he doesn't have, and because he doesn't have it, he just keeps on living. And I realized, oh my God, how much am I aware and conscious of the senses which I do have? And then I thought, after that meal, I was like, wait a second. The whole mitzvah of the beginning of the year, with all its intensity, is just tuning in to one of the senses which you have, which is the sense of smell, of hearing, sorry. What's the whole inyan of Yom Kippur that you're supposed to do from the Torah besides fasting? Which means also actively not doing something. Does anybody know what the Torah says about Yom Kippur? How Chazal learn out Yom Kippur? Itzumay shel yoyim mechaper. The holiness of the day itself brings kapara over you, meaning that the day itself is so holy that just by going through it, you pass through the day and the level of time, you're forgiven. You start over new. So that, don't take this too literally, because then your Yom Kippurs are going to be a joke now. It's like, we learned, you just got to get through Yom Kippur and you're fine. Obviously it's not the case, but maybe it is the case at the end of the day. But you can only say this Torah, Motzei Yom Kippur, for real, right? Can't go into Yom Kippur thinking, as long as, listen, we learned the day is holy enough, we just got to get through it. But what I'm trying to say is as follows. Both things are very interesting. One is just listening, and one, and being silent, and one is just going through the day. What do we say? I wanted to highlight the peaks of Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Both in Rosh Hashanah and in Yom Kippur. It's one of my favorite lines. We say, Berosh Hashanah yikasevun, v'yom tzam kippur yechasemun. Right? So in Rosh Hashanah it's written down, in Yom Kippur it's sealed. But right before that we say a very, very interesting line. Uveshofar gadol yitaka, and in a great loud sound will be blown. And then what? V'koil demama daka yishama. But what's really heard at the end of the day? A silent, thin voice. V'kol dmama daka yishama. At the end of the day, do you know what counts at the end of your tshuva? If you really listen to the shofar gadol yitaka, if you really listen to that great blowing of the shofar, which pulled you out of the hiding and somehow instilled within you the faith that you don't have to hide anything from God. Where does a person end up when that process is real? V'kol demama daka yishama. Silence. Do you know what Aseret Yemei Tshuvah is? You're going to have time to talk on Yom Kippur, a lot of talking. There's a whole machzor. It's just for Yom Kippur. One big book, just Yom Kippur. You're going to have plenty of time to talk. But do you know what you do in Aseret Yemei Tshuvah? In Aseret Yemei Tshuvah, you fall in love with a new world. And it's called the world of silence. And we've spoken about this many times. But it's the tikkun for so many places of arrogance in our lives. And of false humility. Why? Because we said that a person's natural response after coming out of hiding is what? Giving so many excuses. Giving terutzim. Start explaining myself to others. Now I can talk. I'm free to speak. It's all good. Real freedom, real liberation from sin is that now you learn how to shut up. Out of choice. You learn that the loudest shofar blowing that could ever be blown in this world is the kol de mama daka yishama. That a voice, a thin, silent voice, is what ends up being heard. We all know. The look that look that doesn't have words to it, that speaks volumes louder. Remember the story. Reb Mendel of Vorker, Reb Itchel of Vorker, I forget one of the first Vorker Rebbes. I think he only spoke 8 times in his whole Chassidus. Maybe more, I think. But very few, very minimal amount of times. And whenever he spoke, he only spoke a few words. But he'd sit with the Chassidim for a long, long time. A long, long time. And they would be able to live the most powerful lives from those moments of being with someone who's in the world of tshuva without having to say a lot of words. I don't know if it's ever happened to you. Did you ever have an interaction with someone in your life that was so powerful that didn't involve a lot of words? Where you spent time with them and it actually, there wasn't a lot going on back and forth because each of you knew that whatever you were feeling couldn't come close to being expressed in words. When a Jew goes through Rosh Hashanah, that mikvah, that gate of all gates, the gate of Sefer HaChaim Lemancha, the book which is called Living for God, how do you know if you had a strong Rosh Hashanah? If you're able to talk about that which you went through and the transformation which took place to you on Rosh Hashanah, I'd hold on with everything I have to dear life to whatever moments I still have left. Right? Chas v'shalom. If you go through Rosh Hashanah and you're not able to tell anybody what you're feeling, which is usually what's happening to people during Aseret Yemei Tshuvah, and Baruch Hashem, many of my friends I'm talking to, how is your yantiv? It's like a stupid question. How is your yantiv? Hopefully you just talk about the davening, but what do you feel? If I ask you, so how do you feel now? Could you tell me how you feel now that you've chosen to not be in hiding anymore from God? Now that you're choosing to live the most face-to-face life? How could you utter a word? How could you utter anything? But let's take it on that's a nice concept. I want to bring it down to our world right now. And malasot, we live in a world of relationships with people, with spouses. This is where we're at in life. How often does it happen that people that say for a chaim, they live, they're together, the whole thing is hiding. So when you choose after God knows how much time to stop hiding, right? Are you able to speak about what it feels like to be, bare naked soul? You can't talk about it. But you know that this kol dmama daka yishama, that's future tense. This silent voice is what will be heard for the rest of my year. This place that I'm in now that can't even speak about what it felt like to get a new year, new life, this awe, this awesome feeling of awe standing before God, this is what you can't speak about. And this is what yishama for the rest of the year. Kol dmama daka yishama. This is what's going to be heard the rest of the year. Because you're right here in front of me. You just came from the Tzion, right? Anybody knows that when you come back from the Rebbe, from Rosh Hashanah, if you could talk about what you got nothing. Everyone knows, Uman, it happens much later in the year. Much later in the year. It's not now. It's not now. So I wanted to end with, there's so much more we have here, but I know it's already late. I wanted to end right now with this next little place in Rav Kook. It's on the bottom over here. Rav Kook, Orot Tshuvah, Perek Chet Seif Chet. Very hard Hebrew, but I think Rav Kook shows us the power of Aseret Yemei Tshuvah leading up to Yom Kippur in his beautiful, beautiful way. Kshatzar haruchani. I'm going to explain this, don't worry, it's very hard. Kshatzar haruchani mima'amad ha'chaim haruchaniyim shel atzmo shehu ke'ev ha'tshuvah v'shel ha'olam kulo gadol ad me'od. When the spiritual sadness, when you look at the world, you see, when you get a taste of your own tshuva, ke'ev ha'tshuvah, Rav Kook always talks about tshuva is birth. And no woman in the world, unless they have an epidural before they even started anything, can't say that, it was a really nice feeling. It's a consciously and subconsciously painful feeling. Although, b'shat tova, everything should be so good for everyone that's expecting. Everything should be so good. But there's a conscious reality of, this is something that is not so pashut, right? Rav Kook and the tzaddikim say, tshuva is birth. Whatever you're feeling now, even if you went to Rosh Hashanah, but you're feeling, oh my God, where do I start, right? So first of all, don't worry about where you start. Go through the process. When a woman's giving birth, she's not thinking about, how am I going to raise my kid? She's thinking of bringing her kid into the world. That's what matters at that moment. Not how am I going to be the perfect mother or perfect father. It's how do I bring my child into this world as peacefully as possible. Tshuva process is the same thing. Don't get stuck on, if I did tshuva, what does this mean about when I'm supposed to hang out with the guys next Tuesday? And usually there's a lot of stuff going on there that now I don't want to be taken care of. Don't worry about that. Don't think about that. If you're thinking about that already while you're doing tshuva, you're not giving birth. You're not birthing something new into the world. You're already busy on something else. So Rav Kook says, when you have this pain, when you realize, I don't even know where to begin, עד כדי סתימתם של המקורות אשר לרעיונות, לדיבורים, לתפילה ולצעקה, להרגשה ושירה. Rav Kook says, עד כדי סתימתם means that everything, all your faculties, your expressive faculties, your characteristic traits are now satum, which means they're sealed. You're an artist, you can't produce anything. You can't express anything. You can't share anything. You can't write a song. You can't make a painting. If you're a cook or a baker, you can't cook or bake anything. Everything is satum, because you're out of hiding and you're like, what do I do now? This hurts. I'm happy I'm out of hiding. But it hurts to be bare naked before the Ribono Shel Olam. It's not a simple thing. As good as I know this will feel, this hurts. This is not simple. What am I supposed to do? Rav Kook says, Mitromemin bidliga lachsof orot mele'e chayim. You're about to begin to elevate, jumping up huge leaps and bounds to reveal lights that are filled with life. Just like a woman in transition period, that period where you can't feel that you can do anything, you're about to reveal a world full of light. Mimekor hadumiya. What's the source of this place which will now bring new light and life into the world? What does he call it? Mekor hadumiya. The source of dumiya. Silence. Now, there's a Torah, and I think of Hindi every time I say this Torah, is a Torah from the oh my God, the Skulener, I don't know which Rebbe it was. I remember Reb Shimshon. I don't remember right now. And we learned this during Parshas Achrei Mos. It was the most beautiful thing in the world, and it's such a beautiful new understanding, where he says that after a woman gives birth, it says Teishev bidmei tahara, which the literal translation is, she can't come to the Beis HaMikdash, she can't be with people because she has to sit in Dmei Tahara, the blood which will purify her. Meaning that the blood of her impurity, she has to go through that, and therefore she can't come and bring a korban. She has to stay out of the Beis HaMikdash. This Rebbe says, no. You know why she can't deal with anybody? Because she has to sit Teshev bidmei damim dbama. She's sitting now in the world of silence. She can't talk to anybody because experiencing birth is the closest thing to being godly. And when you experience the closest thing to being godly, you can't talk to anybody. Because talking to anybody, and Rabbi Shlomo said, she's not allowed to go to the Beis HaMikdash because where she was spiritually was here, that going to the Beis HaMikdash for her would be a letdown. She's even higher than the Beis HaMikdash. So we say you can't go to the Beis HaMikdash because it should never look small in your eyes. Teishev bidmei tahara, she sits in the silence of her purity. So I want to say, and mechila from the woman, but I want to bring men a little bit into the world of also giving birth, just for a few seconds. We're not comparing, God forbid, anything, nothing. But when we do tshuva, every neshama, when we do that, you can't talk about it. Because anything you could say about it wouldn't be close to anything. But some of us are still in that transition period. Where Baruch Hashem, we got very close, but we haven't given a full push yet, tshuva-wise. We haven't fully birthed it out yet. That's what Aseret Yemei Tshuvah. You know what Aseret Yemei Tshuvah is? It's going past your due date. Your due date was Rosh Hashanah. But some of us don't always give birth on our due date. It comes out a little bit later. We bring life a little bit later. And that's why the pain sometimes can be very intense, but just know, hold on to your dear life, that right now, when you come out of the shell of hiding from God, which hopefully Rosh Hashanah did, and it hurts, Rav Kook says, you're about to bring a whole new world of light into your life. This new year, like I told you before, let yourselves be shocked from yourself. It's because you can't imagine if you do go through the process and now you remain silent. Kol dmama daka yishama. What will be heard will be a thin, soft voice, which will scream louder and speak louder than volumes and volumes and volumes of whatever you could describe of what it means to feel godly and close to the Ribono Shel Olam. So that's why it's very important these next few days, very, very important. Don't try to make sense of why you feel what you feel. And if someone asks you, how was Rosh Hashanah, how was Yantiv, you just talk about the davening a little bit. But anything else after that, you're about to give birth. You're in the middle of giving birth. Can you imagine? I mean, you could imagine when you go, even when you want to do something nice to someone, you go to your wife, honey, what can I give you? What do you... Shut up. Shut up. I love you, shut up. That's what it is, right? Without even saying the words, it's the look. I love you, but you better shut up right now, right? So to speak, that's what we have to tell ourselves right now. Now is not the time. Now's the time. If you started opening up, Rabbi Shlomo says, don't let anything stay inside. Give birth. Just give birth. It's going to hurt a little bit. But you know what? Thank God you get lahavdil. You found out that there's a splinter beneath your skin. How happy are you that you found that out now? And that you didn't live another year of hiding something beneath the surface. Being a Yid, I want to go back to the Moshe Kubriner. Im Yehudi acharei shenechshal ba'avera agura biyoter, eino mesugal la'amod nochach pnei Hashem, Velishpoch libo lefanav. If a Jew, after he falls in the lowest avera, no matter what it is incapable of standing before God and pouring out his heart before God, oti, this is a sign, shelo darach al miftan hachasidut vayadut. You haven't even stepped your foot on the doorstep, on the doorway of opening that door called Yiddishkeit. This is the prerequisite for the rest of the year. This is what it's about. So I give us all a bracha and give me a bracha back. No more hiding. As painful as it might be, no more hiding. Because all the other mitzvahs and Torah that you learn and halacha that you keep, and all the shiurs you go to, if you're not willing to pull yourself out of your cave and realize there's no such thing as a big enough avera to tear me away from God, everything else is nice and cute, but you haven't begun anything. So we began. The shofar blasted us out of our caves. Now, silence. V'kol dmama daka yishama. And this year should be a year of that the chazaka that we began with. The 3 days of establishing a chazaka should last as a permanent established thing in our people. That it will be so engrossed in the world of Kedusha this year, without any fear of how will I relate to people, how will I be when I'm in that sviva, that chevre or that chevre, but now that I'm holy, I don't want to make people think that they can't talk. Don't worry about all those things. It's time for a mikveh of Kedusha to come and lishtof et kol ha'olam, to come and just wash away this whole world. You know, and it's such a weird thing that we got some rain this week, right? It's already a siman that something, rain comes, like Meir Bana have our favorite song, Geshem, Ki tzarich lishtof hakol. That rain has to come because everything needs to be washed away. This summer of hell has to be washed away with tzmichas keren l'david avdecha, with rays of look, we're living in times where you go to a radio station, there's three radio stations, there's 3 studios named after the 3 Giborim. We have a chazaka of Kedusha in our lives, and Be'ezrat Hashem, may it last forever. All right, shekayach everyone. Thank you so much for coming. And if you're not on our list, please give me your email, because we have a lot of things coming up. Wednesday night, very important shir in Yerushalayim and Simchat Shlomo. Because Wednesday night is really if we had another hour, I would continue. Wednesday night is the hemshech, is the continuation of understanding how not to get bored while you're silent. So that's Wednesday night, 7:30 at Simchat Shlomo.